Hello everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another collaborative video with members of Erin Jacobson's team. It's the third Friday of the month and we are working our way through these sketches that are on page 28 of the annual catalog, and this is the sketch that we're going to do today. So I'm stretching this to a 2-page layout. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to primarily use papers from Celebratory Sips. This is the DSP collection, lots of bright colors and images of beverages, and then lots of florals as well. So I am continuing my photos from a girls' trip up to the Mount Princeton hot springs. So Tuesday's video had the first layout from this 2-day trip, and I'm finishing up the pictures that I have on today's layout. So I'm continuing with more pictures from the second day we were there, and this is the 3 of us that went with Mount Princeton in the background. And just looking at the design, and I've printed my pictures larger than the sketch. So I'm just going to use the 3 elements rather than all of the elements that are in the sketch for the line of pictures at wonky angles. So I've got 3x4 pictures, and then for my right page, I've got another 3x4. There was a really cool slide up there that goes down the mountain. It's a really long slide. That's my friend Mary coming out of the slide. And there's the 3 of us with the slide in the background. And just drying off from going down the slide and getting out of the pool. So I'm going to start out by trimming this picture down. It's a little big for that line, and rather than doing a 3x4, I'm going to do a 4x4. So I'm going to trim this down, and then I'll mat it again on white cardstock so it has that white border. So we'll go ahead and trim this to 3 3/4 square, and then I've already cut a 4x4 mat. So we'll get that lined up, and we'll set that up on our right page. So it'll be just a little bit different with that slightly larger picture. Okay, so I'm thinking that I want strips of paper along the bottom. I'm not really fond of pictures that are just kind of floating, so I want to anchor them. So I've got this paper from Celebratory Sips. It has lots of beverages, and I'm going to create a border at the top and at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and start out with 2 inches by 12, of course, and then that will be along the top. And then I went into my stash. I'm looking at the back. I want some sparkle. I went into my stash and I found this shimmer trim from Close to My Heart. This is Wild Berry. And I think that will look nice. Give a little pop of bright color there. And we'll go ahead and trim this down to 12 inches. So one end that wasn't cut straight, so I'm fixing that. And then we'll cut it at 12 inches. So I'll do 2 of these, and then off camera I decided to add 2 more, and you'll see that later on. I didn't film it, but we'll have 2 more strips of shimmer trim on each page. Okay. And then this is another design that's from Celebratory Sips. And I want to just a little something, but not a super busy pattern. So we've got that, and the pattern's in cloud cover, and then we'll go ahead and cut another strip at 1¼ inches of this paper that has beverages on it for the bottom. So we'll have those lined up, and then I'll be adding that shimmer trim above that white paper with the cloud cover design on it. Now it's starting to take shape. So then my pictures can hang out at the top of this pattern paper. So now they're no longer floating. Much better. Okay, so I'm going to bring the pattern or the sketch back in, and the center element has a banner, a dovetailed end at the base. And so I'm going to bring in some pattern paper and dovetail it and use that on my photo. So first I tried this green pattern paper and I wasn't crazy about it. So now I've got this timid tiger pattern that has a diagonal stripe, and I'm going to try that. So I'll go ahead and dovetail it and we'll see what it looks like. Orange is a complementary color to blue, like a royal blue. So, and we didn't plan it, but we're all wearing blue swimsuits. So I thought if I added a pop of timid tiger, that would make the pictures pop a little bit more. So we'll give it a try. I didn't like the way the green was just kind of blending in. We'll try this and see what it looks like. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I'll do another one for the right page for that center photo. Like that. Okay. All right, so I went to a scrapbook kit. It's called Peaceful Days, and I pulled this Good Times die cut that's part of that kit. And I like it, but I think it's a little too big. So we'll just let it hang out there for a minute. And then I'm going to add elements from Pretty Florals dies. And this carries across from the previous layout. I had some floral die cuts, also using that same die set. And then I'm going to bring in stylish shapes. And this is where I'm going to cut my circle, and then I'm going to cut some banners using those dies. So off camera, I cut out a circle, and then I used the mini alphabet dies to create a Good Times title piece in a smaller size. And then I cut 2 of these banners in that same diagonal timid tiger paper, but the banner wasn't quite long enough to sit behind that large circle. So I cut 2, and this is a fix for it. Just figuring out how much of the banner I want to pop out from each side. And then we'll let that sit there for a minute. So these are all the florals that I die cut using Pretty Florals. And then I also fussy cut some of the larger beverages that were on another of the pattern papers from celebratory sips. So got a lot to choose from for embellishments. And I won't be using everything, but I like to have lots of choices. So, and then I went to another kit called Memories in Bloom, and it's the kit that I used on the previous layout. And I pulled the die cut that has a journal block, so I could do my journaling on this. And the florals on that match some of the flower shapes that I die cut. So I did my journaling, and we'll go ahead and add this element to the right page. And this is how you use those 2 banner die cuts to create the illusion that it's one and it's longer. So you have more poking out from each side. So I'm just trimming it, and then I'll glue that shorter bit. Need to make sure I've got the right amount. And I'll go ahead and glue that bit to extend the length of that banner piece. So I'll just line everything up, and you'll never know that it was too short to start with. So we'll go ahead and get that added to our page, and then we can layer our title on top. So that kind of reflects the element that's on the sketch that has that banner piece with some journaling underneath. So we'll do that. Get that piece down. Now we can choose some more embellishments. So I wanted to work these glasses into the layout, but again, I'm not crazy about them being at wonky angles or just kind of floating. So I don't know, I moved it over to the right page. We'll let it sit there for a minute, but let's bring some of these florals in. So these are some flowers that they're the same design that's on the previous layout, but they're in other colors. So I cut them in blackberry bliss and timid tiger, and we'll kind of tuck some of those in. Yeah, I think I like the flowers. Still trying to get those glasses to work, but they're floating and not crazy about that. So we'll let it sit there for a minute, and I'm going to start looking at some flowers. Okay, let's get those out of the way. We'll bring in this large flower, and again, it too is floating, but I don't know, it just feels like when you have them popping out from a picture, they're a little bit more anchored. So we'll add some leaves that I cut out of some of that patterned paper. And I like that better. So that I'm using the flowers instead of the circles that are on the sketch. So these are metallic textures rub-ons, and I used a bunch of them on the first 2 pages from this trip. So I wanted to bring some more of these in, and I'm not going to use quite so many. And instead of using splatters, I'm going to choose some other ones. I like these diagonal stripes. They reflect the pattern that's in that banner that's below. And I'm just going to accent the center pictures with this diagonal gold foiling. So we'll go ahead and trim that image and then peel it from the backing, and then carefully place it down where you want it to go. I'm going to kind of try to slide it under that center picture. And these rub-ons are great. You do not need a tool for them. Your finger is the tool. So make sure it's where you want it to be. This is a one and done. You don't get second chances. So just press it down and then pull the top carrier sheet away from the rub-on. They look so cool. They are just absolutely stunning, especially on a darker color. And then I went ahead and added some more of these leaves behind that flower in gold. Okay, now these are frosted iridescent dots, and they're from the new Aurora collection. They are so cool, and they come in 4 different colors. I'm going to start out with the purple ones. I'm going to scatter a bunch of those all around. And then you'll notice in the final shot at the end of the video that I did decide to change up the dots that I have on the blueberry bushel paper in that background, and I switch them up to the lighter blue dots. So I swapped them all out, and then I took my final pictures. So you'll notice that difference. But yeah, we'll call this all done. So I'll have close-up shots over on my socials, and I will have a playlist at the end of this video, so you can check out all the other collaborative videos that were made using this same sketch from page 28 of the annual catalog. I'll make a list of all the supplies that I use in the description below, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I'd sure appreciate it. You'll be able to find all of my videos, and thanks for watching.